Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins at a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of homeownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923, AnyMac Home Mortgage and Equal Housing Lender, American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC, DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage, LoFi Direct, Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent, License Lender, Broker Number, ML 338923, Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License Number, MC 338923, Rhode Island License Lender, License Number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Sanderson looking in, zone for a pass. He's looking for King, intercepted. He's going to go down the right side. Lawrence down to the 20, 30, down to the 40. He might go all the way.
3rd down and 7. Good jump off the line by Strahan, who gets the sack. Pressure from Thomas off the edge. Eli Manning stays on his feet, airs it out down the field. It is caught by Tyree.
4-man rush. Eli throwing into traffic on the sideline. They're going to rule a catch by Manning.
Welcome to Jawing About the G-Men, a CMG Sports Podcast. I'm Joe McGuire along with King Zay. The New York Football Giants going to be suiting them up this coming Thursday at Foxborough Stadium in New England against the Patriots. And I'm sure you're excited that football is back. I think everybody's excited for it. What expectations do you have for the Giants in the preseason? Thinking about, obviously, a year ago, Zay, when they didn't play anybody at all in these games, and it showed the first few weeks of the season.
Yeah, I think I even mentioned last year during the preseason how important it was how Joe Judge handled the preseason, how it would affect the season going forward, and we see how that went. It was a complete and utter disaster. The Giants couldn't have looked any worse, and it translated right into the regular season, and we know what we got from it, another miserable 4-win season that we put out there. So I'm hoping that Thursday gives us a sign of hope. I have very low expectations. Obviously, this isn't a team that we're expecting to win 10 games because this is a new coaching staff, a complete new GM, new regime, new players everywhere. You bring in these high, draft pick rookies who we're hoping is going to translate to instant production on the field. But everything's a guess with this team. Obviously, we expected that with other players that never, turned into anything. So I don't have any expectations. I'm just hoping to see something that looks like football. We haven't seen the Giants play anything that looks like football in a while, especially with the last few games of the season last year where they were running quarterback sneaks on 3rd and longs. So I'm hoping to go out there and see a team that actually knows how to play football, can manage a drive. I'm not asking for them to go out there and score 5 touchdowns. I'm asking to put together a drive that looks like something promising. That's what I'm hoping for.
This team definitely needs to reduce the 3-and-outs or 4-and-outs even. I think that's been their biggest problem is this team doesn't know how to move the football. I was sort of encouraged to hear, and I don't know if you've seen this, but Kadarius Toney's been taking snaps at quarterback out of the Wildcat.
Yes,
with Wayndale Robinson and Saquon flanked to his right and left. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Like everybody else in the NFL, week in and week out, you see most teams run 3, 4, 5, 10 different trick plays. Not the Giants. Maybe you see one fake reverse once a year and you're like, oh, wow. I think this team needs an offense that is concurrent with the year that we're living in.
Yeah.
And they've got the talent and they've got the guys that can do it. Now it's a matter of, it seemed over the course of the first few days of practice, Daniel Jones was not playing particularly well. It's gotten better. I think he was 5 of his first 12. He's 15 for 26 in practice.
It's critics again, but because I heard that he went 14 for 21 and they said he did terrible. And again, 14 for 21 in a simulated situation, that's not really terrible. Again, it's about how you look at it. I've seen a ton of highlights on, from Twitter, from Facebook, from the Giants social programs. We've seen a lot of big plays. We saw him connecting on long plays with Galladay. We've seen him connecting with Kadarius Toney, who can create separation apparently with anybody. This guy has been freaking amazing all training camp. So again, that's why I kind of want to see what they go out and look like against another team. I don't want to judge them based on practice. From what we're hearing, Dable was putting them in 3rd and long situations, and he was trying to force Daniel Jones to make decisions. So that's why a lot of it looks sloppy. So for us on the outside looking in, that looks different. But when you know what's going on inside the practice, it's completely a whole nother game. So I'm hoping that was the case, that he's trying to force him to make better decisions and, trying to force him to get rid of some of the errors that he's been, accustomed to in the past. And I hope that's really was the case. And again, only we'll find out Thursday. I'm expecting to see starters from the get-go of this game.
Yeah, I listen, to me, they best all be in there for the first quarter.
Yeah.
There's no reason why they shouldn't play the first quarter and then turn it over to second team in the second quarter, and then you go scrubs after the half. I'm fine with that.
I'd actually want to see them go second quarter. You're talking about.
I'd like to see that too. I'm gonna say if they can get out there and they can have, put it like this, if they come out and it's 2 disastrous drives, I'll make them play the whole game.
Oh yes. If they light it up, I mean that's different. They go out there, they score a touchdown in the first 2 drives.
Come out, show some confidence. You guys can sit down and enjoy the rest of the night. That's how I would even play it. I'd be like, you want to play 1 quarter or 2? Show me what you got in the first, and we don't need a second. By the way, there's been a spat in the last couple of days of some important injuries, and specifically to the tackle position. Matt Gano, who the Giants had signed, he missed all of the 2021 season, but he had been with the Atlanta Falcons, had a neck injury, which caused him to miss part of the 2021 season, injured the neck in practice. Not only is he out, his career is likely over. And more bad news, Marcus Mckethen, who was the 5th round pick out of Carolina, a guy everybody was super excited about. After Gano got hurt, he had been playing guard. They were like, hey, you're going to be the backup tackle at both. Now he's out for the season with a season-ending knee injury.
Yeah.
So seen a little bit of that. Adoree Jackson, yesterday, cramped up after a long drive by the offense, which I like that. The offense was on the field for so long, the defense started cramping up. That makes me feel good.
Is that a good sign for the offense, or is that a bad sign for the defense?
I want to assume it's a good sign for the offense, but right, who knows? The Giants did add offensive tackle Will Holden, who immediately upon arriving at camp was already playing backup right tackle. So there is some depth issues there for the Giants, but otherwise, I'm liking a lot of what I'm seeing out of camp. I'm still hearing, and I know you want us to all sort of manage the expectations of Kayvon Thibodeau, but he's really been a handful and has been impressing his teammates. And again, I realize this is just practice here, but This guy's got a motor and a lot of talent. And I don't know, Zay. I feel like the best thing that could have happened to Kayvon Thibodeau was coming to New York.
I'll say this. Everyone plays great when the record is 0-0 and when you have a winning record. I want to see how he performs when the team is down, when the team has a losing record. That's how I want to see how he performs. Where's the leadership there? How's the motor there? When the Giants are, getting blown out in the game, is he still playing to the end of, or is he just slacking off because the Giants are losing by a couple of touchdowns? That's what I want to see. Honestly, that's what I say. I can't judge a player until I see him play. Again, he could be as great as he wants to be in college. College is college. This is the NFL. This is the cream of the crop. Not everyone makes it here. You really have to be talented to make it here. And I honestly feel like I want to see what he does when things are tough. Everyone plays good when things are going great. When things are going well, everything is good. We love Saquon Barkley that year. The Giants were 11-5, and he was playing great. We'd love Saquon Barkley. But then when the years were rough, maybe he's a bust. Maybe we should trade him, I want to see how you perform when you're down and out. That's what I want to see.
Listen, I love Saquon Barkley, and I'm a firm defender of both him and Daniel Jones still at this point. I don't love some of the things Saquon Barkley has been saying of late. All that, like, if you're not with me now, when I break through and try to block all the noise, and it's like, dude, this guy needs to understand one thing: get on the field and perform, and everything will be fine. It's as easy as that. But for him to somehow misinterpret this as like the fans aren't being supportive of him, it's like, Saquon, you do realize we're at the point where there's people saying you're a bust. It's on you to disprove it. It's not the fans' fault. It's not our fault that he doesn't play enough games, and that when he's been in there, you really you didn't see a lot of the explosiveness, and that was definitely cause for concern. Do you think Saquon's head is on right at this point, or is he, because it seems like he's given a lot of credence to the criticism, is it in his head?
It's definitely in his head. It has to be. You're talking about a guy who's had 2 injury-prone seasons back-to-back, just not what he was coming out of college, who he is. He has an ego, just like every other player in this league. His ego has been affected by his past 2 results the last few seasons. And that's what I kind of explain to people about Eli Manning, which makes him so great. The man was basically a blank head. They was kicking him to the curb. He was an adopted child. He probably could have got the worst criticism you could get in New York sports for what he did in the first few years for the Giants. But he found a way to block it out and go out there and win a championship. He never talked back to the media. He never said, watch what I'm going to do when I get there. He just went out there and performed. When everyone thought he couldn't, he went out there and did it. That's what I need to see from Saquon. I don't want to hear what you're going to do when you're going to do it. You've been saying that for 2 years now. I want to see you perform. I want to see you go out there and do it. That's
a results-driven league.
Again, a quality that Eli Manning had that was just so underrated was his ability to block out the noise. It really was. Because each time right before a championship, we were ready to kick him to the curb. The back page, the newspapers destroyed him as much as they could. And again, to have a brother as successful as he does in the league, that's a lot to deal with. There's a lot of expectations to live up to. Your father also played in the league. And to be able to block all that out and still get it done in this state, it's hard. You look around sports, players, you see in all sports, they can't do it. It's very hard. There are very few that can do it. You talk about your Mariano Rivera's, your Derek Jeters. There are very few people who can be great in this state.
Nobody from the Mets?
Mike Piazza, Carlos Beltran, except for when, ninth inning of CS. But we're not going to get into that. But you know what? There have been players over the years who have done it, but it's a very, very hard state to live in and play in because of the noise. Just think about it. The Yankees just traded away a player. What was his name?
Jordan Montgomery.
No, the one that couldn't hit.
Oh, Gallo. Joey Gallo.
Yeah. Joey Gallo again. And he mentioned he couldn't stand playing in New York. It's difficult to play in New York. The fans hate you. The crowd hates you. The reporters hate you. and you can't get away from it. He said he didn't even go out at night because he couldn't get away from it. It's difficult to play here. And again, to do what Eli Manning did, because I don't want to divert from football, it was amazing to be able to put all that to the side. And Tom Coughlin, too. You have to be gritty to play here. That's what we need from you, Saquon. We don't need talking. We need gritty play.
Can I give you my Matt? How about David Wright, a guy whose teams really didn't see a ton of success, but Wright played well, played hard, showed up, answered questions. You've got to be able to do that. Listen, I grew up the 70s into the 80s Giants. I mean, they were awful. They were awful, and the turnover on that roster was a lot. Guys didn't tend to stick around. The few that did were people like Harry Carson and George Martin, who would play a pivotal role when you got to 86. But again, it was so much quit on the Giants in the late 70s and early 80s. And those two guys were able to sort of rise above. And when the talent started showing up, and then obviously LT did too, it was all over from there. But let me ask you this. I think we sort of hit on this, but overall, we kind of talked about the offense. What would you need to see from the Giants here in the preseason? Again, I don't care what the record is. I know you don't either. What do you want to see in the preseason? What would give you faith going into this season that this is not going to be another 4-win debacle?
I want to see a team. I want to see a functional team, if that's the best way to put it. I want to see a team that goes out there and players look like they know where they're supposed to be and doing what they're supposed to be doing. I'm not necessarily worried about the results yet. I'm worried about you being where you're supposed to be. If if Daniel Jones gets sacked, okay, but you were there where you needed to be, you stepped up, you picked up your block at running back. It wasn't your fault. I want to see that. You know what I'm saying? If Daniel Jones gets sacked for holding the ball too long, that's on him. But I want to see a team that knows how to play football. That's what I want to see. We haven't for a couple years seen a team that knows how to play football. We've seen teams that get penalties every drive, it seems like, killing them. Games they could have come back and won, but penalties killing them. I want to see a disciplined team that knows how to play functional football. That's what I want to see. I'm not necessarily worried about the results week 1 in the preseason. Obviously, as we go through the preseason, I want to see, some more competitiveness. But right now, I just want to see that you guys know what you're doing. You understand the playbook. You get what the coaches are, putting out there. You're taking it in. Because I'm hearing a lot from the players that they like the coaches. They like, they're buying into the system. Now I want to see that buy-in. I don't want to hear it. I want to see the buy-in. Enough of the talking. There's too much talking going on with this team. I think we need to see them play and just do it. Because again, I still feel they're in a winnable division. Very winnable division. If you could play functional football, you have talent everywhere. We've seen this. We've seen the talent.
My feelings about the Joe Judge era, and I was especially leading up to him actually getting fired. I talked about the discipline, and I talked about the propensity to make penalties at terrible moments in games. For me, that was the reason Joe Judge couldn't come back because, again, young team, there's a lot going on. It's unfortunate, obviously. Look, Daniel Jones has to learn a whole other offense. This will be the third different offense he's had to learn since he's been the Giants quarterback, and that is asking a lot, especially of a guy who didn't really seem to master the first 2 playbooks he had. So now here's a third offense that they're throwing at this guy. Let's see what happens. But it's like you, listen, I need to see this team be able to move the football. This isn't 1985. Really 3 and outs, that doesn't even make sense anymore. Everybody in this league is going to get a first down on those first 3 plays. It's so rare to see the 3 and outs, and the Giants, it's like if you look at the box score afterwards, it's about half the drives. They've got to consistently start moving the football. I think having an offense, again, more conducive to being in 2022 is going to make a lot of sense.
Oh,
I think as far as the defense is concerned, a lot of it is going to play into what the offense does. we've seen some decent Giant defenses the last couple of seasons. The better unit of the two. Inevitably, they get exposed in these games when the Giants, hold the football for 23 minutes of a game, and the defense spends 36 out on the field. It's just I need to see a balanced football team. I need to see a team. The special teams last year for the Giants was really good. And Graham Gano is a great kicker. So there's a couple questions on defense, but for the most part, that looks like a unit that's going to be able to start winning football games in the future. Can this offense look competent? Can Daniel Jones lead this offense? Can they stay on the football field? If they could get out at least to midfield or beyond on most of their drives, it will make a world of difference for this team and for the results. But to me, it all matters whether or not this, because I like that they like Dable, but they liked Judge and they liked McAdoo and they liked Shermer. And
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say
nice
they like
guys.
Judge. I wouldn't say they like Judge. I would say certain players like Judge. Not everyone really bought into Judge because a lot of people weren't fans of his tactics, the running on mess up plays. They treated them almost like high school kids. There were a lot of people who in the locker room didn't come up front saying it, but they didn't like Joe Judge. And we heard through the years of Joe Judge being there, the whispers of players not liking him, and these players didn't want to come out, and then he had to go out and answer in front of the camera that all the guys like him. There was issues there within there, but it just never really came out. I don't think a ton of people bought into Joe Judge or like Joe Judge, but I think they were okay with him as a person, if you get what I mean. I don't think they liked him as a coach, but I thought that, they might have liked him as a guy. I don't think they personally liked him as a coach.
Well, I'll be honest, all the running and treating them like a high school football team, which is very much what I think was going on there. I think A is indicative of a guy who had no real coaching experience.
Yeah.
You would coach like a high school coach if you didn't know any better. That seems like the right thing to do, kind of, I don't like that, but my fear is, and listen, I know everybody loves Brian Dable, but it kind of was the same thing with these other guys. How do we know this is the right guy? And I say that because, the Giants have won championships with two coaches, Parcells and Coughlin.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys were, as it turned out, on a whole other level when as far as coaches are concerned. You don't just become Bill Parcells.
But those two guys also, the things they had in common is they held players accountable. That's what Dable has to be able to do. He has to be able to go out there and look in front of the cameras after a loss and go, look, quarterback's got to play better. Running back's got to run harder. You got to start putting people on the spot. Honestly, these guys are getting paid way too much money to be going out there and not looking like they know how to play football. If you coach them up and he knows it, he needs to go out there and say it. If it's on his end, then he has to go out there and own it. I'm not with throwing anyone under the bus, but holding someone accountable is completely different than throwing someone under the bus. They have to know the difference. Throwing someone under the bus is like, hey, could have won the game if we didn't have Daniel Jones. But saying, hey, look, the quarterback needs to go out there and play better. We're going to work on it and get better next week. That helps you out. I think they need to be able to hold them accountable.
Throwing somebody under the bus, by the way, just for clarification, is when Brian Flores tells Tua Tagovailoa, I wish we would have drafted Mac Jones.
Look, the Brian Flores situation is a mess. We're not
Yeah, I don't want to deep dive into that anymore. But still to come, we've got our GOATed segment. We're going to talk about sports villains. But coming up next, we're going to talk about Zay's favorite player, Deshaun Watson and his Cleveland Browns. That's next on Joe About the G-Men.
There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com. All right, we are back. Thank you so much for joining us again, Joe Aguirre and King Zay. The NFL gave Deshaun Watson a 6-game suspension for violating the league's conduct policy. I don't even want to – we're not even going to get into that whole part of it. No, they didn't.
The judge did.
The arbitrator did. That is
the
correct.
terms they agreed to.
Yeah.
I just want to start off there.
No, that's fair. No, listen, I don't even want to make this about Deshaun and what Deshaun Watson did because it was awful. I think we can both agree. And he's definitely one of the creepiest people on the planet. And as you have said, was not criminally charged. So he's a disgusting perv, but he's not a criminal.
Yes, he's just a creepy guy. He's a guy
now
with
that's
a fetish.
Yeah.
What a weird
if you see him in your daughter's DMs, you're gonna want to nip that in the bud, is what I'm saying.
Again, look, those are very touchy situations, and look, America has to readjust as a country because he's going off the premise of these girls being OnlyFans models. So again, the fact that anyone can just do this now and just sell their body, it makes everything 10 times worse. Look, I don't agree with anything Deshaun Watson did. I don't ever want to sound like that. I just want to make this clear. I'm so over the situation. It's on my list with like the Will Smith situation of things I never want to hear about after a couple of I don't want to hear about this anymore. Maybe the Will Smith situation and the Brittany Griner situation, you could just throw those all in the Deshaun Watson, just throw those in the bin of the situations I don't want to hear after this year. But again, this is a process that's going to continue. Obviously, now he's going to sue the NFL back. They're going to go back and forth. Will he play? Will he not play? None of us know. Some are saying he could play week 1 because if they go through the process, it negates his last suspension. And I don't know what's going on. I don't think any of us know. And again, it's so hard to judge the situation because we don't know the details. Again, I come from a state where my governor was removed for sexual misconduct because he told someone she looks nice in a dress. And he's a single man, I guess, and I thought you could do that in America, but apparently you can't. So I don't know. This is why I say we need a lot. I want to see the details. I want to see detailed what was done, and I think that would help people make a better determination. But a lot of what's going on is based off of public backlash because public doesn't know what's going on. So the public backlash is making the NFL now feel like they have to respond. And again, it's not going to be a win-win. It's a lose-lose for the NFL. I'm just being honest.
This is a terrible look for the NFL. First of all, the NFL should have handled this on their own.
Correct.
And if you weren't going to handle it on your own, what you needed to do was just accept what was done. Like you put Sue Robinson in charge. She said this, and that's it. That should be the entire process. Why this continues to drag on, and this is another thing that kills me, why the NFL continues to go after players, big-time players. Dude, the way, Roger Goodell had a hard-on for Tom Brady. He wanted to somehow, some way stick it all to Tom Brady. That's a weird thing to do with your star players. I don't understand that. This could have been handled in a much more private way where the league could have been disciplining him. And listen, at the end of the day, the biggest thing the NFL is looking for, in addition to extending the suspension for a year and fining him, which they feel should have been done as well, they want this guy to go get some help. They want him to go seek some treatment for because that is a weird thing that he did. You said it to me the other day, and you're right. It's very creepy.
He's just
listen. You brought up Darren Sharper, and here's what I would say to that. Listen, I don't think Darren Sharper went right to raping people. I think there's probably generally speaking, with people who are sociopathic, they kill animals as kids and they set fires, and It's a slow progression. I'm not saying any of this about Deshaun Watson. I'm just saying his behavior for a guy who you're giving $230 million and his extreme poor judgment in the people he contacted would give me pause as someone who gave him $230 make my franchise great. I don't know if that guy's all there mentally to do that.
Again, they play a sport where, again, there's a ton of head trauma. We know this. We know what happens to players after they play. They commit suicide. These bad judgment calls they make after, life after sports. So it's always a slow progression during the season. Look at Antonio Brown. He can barely even talk now. I hear him talking in interviews, and he doesn't sound like he used to sound when he was first in the league. He slurs some of his words. He doesn't sound all together sometimes. And again, you see this over Aaron Hernandez. I think he might have been a bad guy, but playing a sport like football, you add in all the head trauma and all that other stuff, that the drugs, the drinking, and all that, it adds only to it. There's a big problem going on. And the problem, again, with sports is, and I hate to say, these athletes are paid way too much. And this is, I feel like it should have been capped a long time ago, where they make a certain amount, but they're getting, again, the fact that he will only lose a little bit and still make the majority of his $230 million guaranteed, that's ridiculous. That he's only probably going to lose $1 million this year and still make all that money. Knowing it's like you're making somebody worse in the head, but you just keep paying them money, keep making them a worse and worse person. But hey, here's money. Yeah, again, and my biggest problem again with the NFL is, when are they ever going to go after the league? You got the guy in Washington he's done worse than Deshaun Watson, from what I'm hearing, with the naked pictures of cheerleaders that he made them take and all types of exposing of vulnerability. And we have heard nothing from that case. And then you got John Gruden ready to sue the NFL. He's about to leak all types of shit. It's about to get wild from what I hear. We're going to find out that owners are maybe more racist and dirtier than we already know this. We've heard comments.
Let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you something right now. Do you remember when Oprah last year interviewed Meghan Markle and whichever idiot she's married to, whichever of the Queen's sons? Yeah, and Meghan Markle was like she was like, the Queen's racist. And Oprah was like, no, the Queen. And it's like, dude, come on. If I find out that 31 of the owners have said racist things in emails back and forth, this will be my surprised face. It's not going to happen. I'll tell you right now, you and I were talking about this the other day, the Donald Sterling thing with the NBA. He was the owner of the LA Clippers. See, he didn't own the Lakers. He owned the Clippers. And the Clippers were terrible when Donald Sterling owned them.
They weren't terrible.
They were pretty bad. They were pretty bad. And
when he was going out, they were pretty good. I'll say that. They were pretty good.
They were starting to get good. They were becoming relevant for the first time in a long time. Let's say that.
Yes.
They didn't need that guy there, and they didn't need the embarrassment for the league that came with having a guy like that and with all of the things that he said. But again, if that had been the Lakers owner or the Knicks owner, or the Mavericks owner, it would have been handled very differently.
Yeah,
the fact that Bob Kraft, the fact that now I'm totally blanking on his name, the Skins owner, that dirty birdie, Dan
Commanders owner, please.
What did I just say?
Please don't get us censored.
Yeah, Dan Snyder.
Dan Snyder,
right?
Yeah,
is that his name? Dan Snyder.
Yes, Dan Snyder.
Yeah, listen, that guy's a pretty powerful guy. He's a very influential guy in the league, and he has been. If this was the Eagles owner we were talking about, they would have run a guy out of the league. You don't even know that guy. I don't either. And that's the difference here. This comes down to the people that get away with stuff. And this is the argument you and I were having in our chat the other day. Star players, star owners, never going to get in trouble. They're never going to be held accountable because they're too valuable to the organization. And by organization, I mean the league in itself. And players. I mean, listen, Deshaun Watson's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. from an athletic standpoint, not necessarily from a QB standpoint. And I thought all those lists that came out a couple weeks ago with him in the top 10 were nonsense. All that aside.
I wouldn't say that. Based on what he did in Tennessee, he wasn't a bad quarterback. He was obviously a top 10 quarterback his last year playing, but he had nothing around him. He was still he had nothing. Come on, they traded away his best weapon, to Arizona for nothing. That's why the man wanted to trade. This is how we got here today.
Well, that's what we assume. That's what we assume.
No,
I think
I can't assume when I see the Texans getting sued by the women.
Sure.
And this is what I'm saying. He wanted to trade, and maybe the Texans leaked this out on purpose, thinking it wouldn't come back to them, thinking they would never had to pay the women because the women knew that the Texans were enabling this the whole time.
Can I tell you what I think?
He wanted to trade. I'm just saying.
This is pure speculation. I think Deshaun Watson specifically forced a trade to Cleveland because he knew that the National Massage Federation, this is no joke. Do people know this? Literally, there's a big national massage convention happening in Cleveland. That's where they chose to have it. I'm sure it was planned way before this, but yeah, that's happening. The irony there is amazing.
Not just in Cleveland, but right across the street from Cleveland Browns Stadium. You want to talk about entrapment? I mean, again, the audacity of the world. But again, I feel as though none of this comes about if you haven't asked for a trade. Because again, we know now the Texans knew too much. The Cleveland Texans knew too much. He wanted a trade, and the Cleveland Texans said, "All right, cool, we got you." And this is how this is how we literally all got here today.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, 100%. The Texans knew what was happening.
Agree.
And we know this for a fact because they started sending the security guy out with them to have these ladies sign NDAs. You can't be any more complicit in making that happen than when you're sending the chief of security just to make sure Deshaun's getting signatures on the dotted line just to CYA. And yeah, again, dude, that's gonna always blow up in your face. You can't do that kind of stuff. All right. I'm sorry. And I didn't even mean to get. Do you see, despite this guy missing maybe a minimum 6 games, maybe he ends up missing more, but right now it's looking at 6. Do you think the Browns are a playoff contender?
I don't know. It's tough. The AFC is packed. There's a ton of teams and a ton of divisions that can fill up spots. And if you don't win your division, and your division's going to be a monster. I mean, the Ravens look good. Whatchamacallit? Oh my God, Jesus, Lamar Jackson. He's put on about he put on muscle. He's put on about, like they said, 30 pounds of muscle. The boy's gotten bigger. He's still fast. Indian got weapons now. Hollywood Brown had a ton of drops that we didn't see until obviously he got traded to Arizona. There was a whole highlight reel of him dropping balls now. But obviously, again, Odell's father must be working somewhere. But no, but seriously, that's going to be a tough division to win, I think. Obviously, the Steelers still have a great defense. You're going to have to win your division to get in. The AFC West is stacked with teams where I think all 4 teams could find a playoff spot. That's how good it is. AFC South's got teams. The AFC North, I mean, there are a ton of teams. The Colts got better. You added a quarterback now, and oh my God, Jesus, so early.
Matt Ryan.
Look, by week 1, I'll have everybody's names back. It's been a long
Listen, the carousel that has been the NFL the last couple of off seasons, boy, it is definitely hard because it's constant. It's constant, especially with the QBs. This league, the chain for quarterbacks getting shorter and shorter.
Look, the free agency has gotten ridiculous over the years. Players are now just going wherever they want, choosing wherever they want, forcing wherever they go. It's hard to even keep up with some of these. I don't know where Jimmy G is going to be in a couple of weeks. I hope he's still in San Fran. I hope, because obviously from what I'm hearing, Trey Lance got dead arm. He can throw every couple of days. I don't know if that's going to mix well if you got 2 games in a week. I don't know how that's going to go for them. I think keeping Jimmy G would probably be the better option for them, but, they're ready to rush out these young kids. And again, I hate that they do this to these kids now based on Patrick Mahomes' success. Not everyone's Patrick Mahomes, and I need the league to understand that. And I feel sorry for Justin Fields, too, another one who's being thrown into the fire again. These kids they're not Patrick Mahomes, they're not Josh Allen. Even Josh Allen took a couple of years to turn it around and get going. Maybe you have someone who's a Tannehill who maybe takes more than 5 years, and then okay, now it's starting to click in the difference. You can't just put these kids in the fire and want them to be Pat Mahomes. I feel bad for them, but again, like you said, the carousel, the movement of players has been ridiculous over the years. I'm hoping I do well in fantasy. I hope I can find everybody.
Right now, seriously, right? Like, no joke, man. You're talking about a league of 32 teams with 53-man rosters. This isn't trying to remember a 12-man NBA roster or a 26-man baseball roster. That's a lot of people to remember, and there's more teams.
And there's big names moving, too.
Yeah.
Look at Miami. I'm supposed to remember Tyreek Hill's in Miami now. Imagine that. Again, moves we didn't see in the offseason coming. This is the NFL now.
All right. We have one last bit we're going to do here. It's our goated section, and the topic is sports villains. We will hit that right after one last quick message.
Hi everyone, I'm Owen Muniz, host of the All Four Downs podcast. Football season is near and we have the podcast for you. Subscribe and follow the YouTube channel for insights on picks, sports betting, on all NFL, college football, and the upcoming XFL games. It's All Four Downs. Presented by Clovercrest Media.
All right, we are back. Make sure you check out that show, All Four Downs. It's very good. We do college football. When the XFL comes back, we'll be doing that as well.
We need a Notre Dame analyst. The big team without a real conference, they needed someone to keep up with them.
Well, you're certainly welcome to join us, and we would love that. All right, listen, let's talk GOATs. Let's talk about the biggest GOAT villains in sports. Who do you think is... And listen, we're going to make this kind of a two-parter. Number one, on-field performance. Who is the biggest sports villain on the field and then off the field? Or you're welcome if you'd like to do both.
Now, here's the thing. What sport are we talking about? Because I'm a tormented soul. I am
could be. This is one of Jace's questions. It doesn't specify a sport or a century, so you got free reign here. I'm thinking if we're talking football, I'm thinking someone like Ndamukong Suh, a dirty player, a biter, a guy who's stomped on people, known for playing a little dirty.
Is it a villain to you or a villain in general?
A villain in general.
Okay, because I was like, is it a villain for me? Because how much time do we got? Because I'm a Knicks, Mets, and Giants fan. We can do this all day. I can start listening to players like Reggie Miller, who tormented my Knicks for years.
Yes, sir. I still hate that guy.
Oh, bro, it's an eye roller. Kobe Bryant, another villain of sports. We can do this. I'm telling you now, we can do this all day if we wanted to. But for me, I got two. I want to say Desean Jackson. And I only say Desean Jackson not because of one highlight that will live forever in sports.
Does it start with Matt Dodge trying to punt the ball out of bounds for crying out loud?
Yes, that play that lives in Giants infamy forever. It even tops the Herm Edwards. I don't even hate Herm. I mean, like it's oh my God! I'm telling you, I literally watched, and I hate to divert from this. I literally watched NFL Access, and they had Lamar Jackson and Michael Vick together, and they were comparing their plays, and somehow, some way, they found a way to slip that goddamn play in there.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with Michael Vick or Lamar Jackson.
Neither one of you was there.
Not
By
one
the
of
way,
them. Well,
for anybody, For anybody who doesn't know, the first miracle at the Meadowlands, as you alluded to, which was, I believe, quarterback Scott Brenner, I think was the quarterback at the time, going to hand off what would have been a game-sealing stop. All the Giants had to do was run out the clock. Instead, the ball was fumbled. Herm Edwards picked it up and ran it back for a touchdown, and the Giants lost. Right after that is when they came up with victory formation, where you could kneel on the ball. That literally was inspired by one of the worst plays in Giants history. And I'll tell you this, that Desean Jackson play, if by God in heaven it doesn't show up in my feed at least once a week,
I want to burn it. I literally want to burn. I want to find tape and burn it so it can never be played again. I'm over it. I'm literally over it. It ain't played everywhere. It's literally, I think it's the NFL's favorite play.
It must be.
I feel like sports hate New York teams, and anything that happens like that to New York teams, they will show forever. I'm just.
If there was a way to encapsulate the Yankees choking in 2004 against the Red Sox, like a moment that would have captured it, you would see that played on repeat, I'm certain.
Look, I'm on the other side of it. We can go for days. You don't want to be on this side of it. Hell, one of my villains now plays for my team, so you can't even argue there. So, but
that's something.
Yeah, can't beat him, join him. But obviously, it would have to be Tom Brady number one. I feel like Tom Brady is the Anakin story of the NFL. He went from the chosen one to Darth Vader real fast, and that's really what it comes down to. Is I love Tom Brady his first 3 Super Bowls. I rooted for him. He beat the Eagles. I hate the Eagles. We were on good terms. I loved him. But then he just wouldn't stop. And he still won't stop. And this is why people hate him. He is the biggest, to me, probably biggest sports villain of them all. Because as much as you hate him because he's super successful. And there's very few that have done it like he has, the way he has. So to me, that's the number one sports villain probably of all sports.
It's unfortunate, and you're probably right. I'll throw out a couple more names on the all-time sports villain list, and they're on this list for obvious reasons, but Ray Caruth, O.J. Simpson, Aaron Hernandez.
Jesus, villains, wait.
I went a little dark there.
Because
I've got one more. I've got another all-time villain, and this guy hasn't killed anybody, and is almost starting to turn the tide, which I don't like, but a fellow by the name of Alex Rodriguez.
Yeah, he was.
He's become, and I don't like this, but he's become kind of likable these days.
Just not by J-Lo.
Not by J-Lo.
Nah.
Who would prefer? By the way.
I'm kidding. She'll be back in a couple years. I'm totally just needed a few years. Just needed a few years off. You know how that goes. She just needed a few years off.
She does bounce around from pretty much the same group of dudes. That is,
her free agency is ridiculous, but you can't get mad. She gets a ring everywhere she goes. So
that she does. She delivers.
J-Lo is the biggest villain of them all. Well, how did we miss this? I was gonna say Tiki Barber. Because I think everyone in New York hates Tiki Barber. I don't even know why he's on New York radio. It makes no sense.
A man. Listen, it's funny. They defend Woody Allen. The heart wants what the heart wants. Tiki Barber does it. They're like, scumbag.
No.
It's not like Tiki was also abusing the kids like Woody was doing. Jesus.
It's just the way he quit. He quit on New York. He just, it was just a couple of years. He said, hey, I'm out of here. I made enough money off you suckers. I'm good. That's what it felt like. We're never going to win with this piece of slob. I'm out of here.
Very much that.
That's literally what it felt like. And again, I don't know why he's on New York radio.
I agree. Yeah. All right, that is going to do it for this week's Jog About the G-Men. Again, the New York Giants squaring off Thursday night, 7 o'clock with the New England Patriots. We'll be back next Sunday to recap that. We'll take a look all around the league and give you our goated, another, I hope, interesting topic. Those guys certainly missed out on this one. I think we handled all the villainous goats.
Yeah, we're Sean. We got 5 Sean. Let's go put him on a milk carton.
I saw an MMA fight last night, and the guy looked just like Sean Scanlon, and I thought, oh, maybe Sean's moved on to a career in mixed martial arts, but it wasn't him.
That's a tough sport.
If anyone's seen Sean Scanlon, send him back this way. We're looking for him. I'm just playing. All right, that's going to do it for us. Kings A, I'm Joe McGuire. Make sure you check us out, clovercrestmedia.com/John About the G-Man. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the Instagram by searching John About the G-Man. That's it for this week. We'll be back next week. Thanks for watching John About the G-Man.
Sanderson looking in, zone for a pass. He's looking for King, intercepted. He's going to go down the right side. Lawrence down to the 20, 30, down to the 40. He might go all the way.
3rd down and 7. Good jump off the line by Strahan, who gets the sack. Pressure from Thomas off the edge. Eli Manning stays on his feet. Airs it out down the field. It is caught by Tyree.
4-man rush. Eli throwing into traffic on the sideline. They're going to rule it a catch by Manning.
We can expect another wet summer in Connecticut, and that means more mosquitoes than ever. If you don't have your home serviced for mosquito control and you find you're spending most of your outside time swatting those little pests, or you did have your yard sprayed but you still have bites all over your body, you're in luck. Mosquito Shield of Central Connecticut provides the best value in mosquito control services because of how they treat your yard using the Mosquito Shield tailored treatment system. All mosquito control service is not the same. They don't use a fixed schedule or an identical product, one-size-fits-all service program. You can't control mosquitoes on a set number of sprays or visits. Unlike the competition, Mosquito Shield of Central Connecticut will service you for the season, whatever it takes to provide superior results. The promise has awarded them an industry-leading customer retention rating of 90%. Visit MosquitoShieldCNCT.com to schedule an appointment with Wade DeCesare and enjoy the rest of the summer mosquito-free.